tuning into our Where To Wednesday. I have Jiří here, who is in Prague. I know all of us that are here in the States are wishing that we could get out, and where better to go to than Prague. Please tell us about yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Anne, and saying good afternoon to New York and United States from Prague, Czech Republic, from Europe. Well, I'm happy to be part of your live show, so thank you for that, Anne. Well, I'm Jiří. I began from the beginning of my real estate career. So, well, I started as a real estate agent in 2016, and then I cooperated with some big brokerage till last year, and then I could, by coincidence, have met Jana, our ROB, which led me and invited me for Keller Williams family reunion in Faro, Portugal. And right after, I decided to join Keller Williams. So from the beginning of this year, I'm a team leader of Market Center Metropolitan. So this is me, and I hope that I'm gonna provide you some great information about market in Czech Republic and, for example, in Prague.
Yeah, well, I, for one, am excited, especially after you showed me out your window the other day. So beautiful there.
You want me to show it again?
Can you? Can you show us out your window? This is the new Keller Williams office there. They've just moved in. It's so beautiful.
They actually have like roll-ups new. So,
I see, there you go. Y4C2Ts, they're all ready.
So actually, we are about to showing you what our new offices are like. But there, I hope that my laptop not gonna fall down.
Drop your
there you can see Old Town Square. It's like one of the most famous sites in Prague, and we are just currently at the city center, historic city center.
Wow, so, it's so beautiful. Watch out, we're gonna make you go on a walking tour pretty soon.
Definitely.
Awesome. Okay, so, well, you're in the city center. Would that be considered, like, in New York, right? We have like the financial district, we have Soho, we have Midtown. Would the city center, would that be like your Midtown area?
Well, it is exactly the same as you do. Those trends are for me are all over the world.
Okay.
We have also the financial part in Prague, which is like around Brunlovka, where are like skyscrapers, not skyscrapers as you are usually around in New York. They are about like 120 meters of height.
Okay.
And for example, like the mid of the city center, they are like historical sites, and all around they're supposed to be like mostly residentials.
Okay.
Residential quarters where most of residentials in Prague live.
Awesome. So hello, who's moving there?
Who's moving there?
Who's moving to Prague?
Who's moving to Prague? Well, mostly residentials are in Prague. Or there are like many investors that like to invest in Prague because, for example, Prague is super stable, and also Czech Republic. So many investors came to our capital city to invest, and after that rent it. So
yeah, you said a lot of them came in and they're doing Airbnbs there, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Fascinating.
Well, it was like super great business like before COVID, because as you know, everything has changed. For example, the tourism was like crazy in Czech Republic because there are many investors that buy a lot of apartments and condos in city center and rent it as an Airbnb for a short-term lease. And there are no tourists, so they were like free. And right after, they decided to try it, to rent it for a long term. So many apartments were available on the market, and the prices weren't way lower than they were before. But it is just the city center, and for a short term, we are looking that it's going to repair in close future.
Okay.
Because actually, it's getting better. Some tourists came here, not that much as before, but
because he won't let us in. I'm just kidding. No, but and you were saying think it was some astronomical amount. It was something like 80%. What was it? What percentage was being Airbnb'd?
Yeah, many apartments. I think approximately like 50% more on the market at the moment, because there are not actually that much of residential apartments at the city center.
Okay.
So there were many new listings there.
So most of the city center is then commercial buildings?
There are like historical buildings, but currently used as offices mostly.
Okay. Are there a lot of companies that are moving there?
Well, I wouldn't say it like great matter, but for example, to have an office on Prague 1, which we are currently now, it's like a good address to have business here. So in case that you are doing like real estate or maybe like some legal things or something, you'd like to have an office in here.
Okay, great. Okay, so who are the people that are buying now? Or is it really just mostly investors when it comes to city center? And then I want to know who is buying outside of the city center in Prague.
Well, as I mentioned, like 5 minutes before, the markets has changed a little bit due to COVID. But like 3 years ago, there were like big changes about mortgage. We have like two parameters, which were like DSD or DSTY. Those were talking about how many percent you can have out of the value of the property, loan to value, and also if in case that you have some salary, times it 8 times, and it is the value you can have as a mortgage. So they were like limiting those possibilities for buyers. So you can, in case that you have some approximate salary in Prague, it is like 30,000 per month. It means at almost like 400,000 Czech crowns per year times 8. It means 4.2 million Czech crowns in value of commission of accommodation, and those were the criteria. And after the COVID, they canceled those. So buyers are able to buy more, but you know the market is not as predictable as it was like before. So investors are not like, they are not hunger as they've been before.
Okay.
So mostly are buying residentials, but you know, in case that there is a good offer, who wouldn't buy it?
Then they're right. If the numbers make sense, anybody would buy it. Do you find that people are moving into the city now, or are most people moving out of the city center? I know it's not that much residential, but are you seeing trends?
Well, that's a good question. Well, for example, we had like a lockdown for 2 months from the end of March, and it was like crazy. Many people realized that being for 2 months in their apartments is like not possible. But those who can afford to buy a house around Prague or maybe in some suburbs, they are definitely interested in to buy an apartment, buy those houses and use their green gardens there. So.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I know here in the city as well, living on lockdown in a small apartment can definitely be a little bit difficult. So I understand that. Yeah. So what is the lifestyle if somebody lives in this city, like the city center of Prague? Again, I know that it's not that much, but like here, city center, you don't need a car, right? You have a very busy city lifestyle. You're probably here because you work here or just because you love the energy. Is it kind of the same thing there?
Yeah, it is like almost the same.
Okay.
Well, for myself, I live in suburbs of Prague, which is like just on the borders of the city, just on the borders of another region. So for myself, I drive my car for about 4 kilometers, leave it there, get on a tube and get to the city center, because in case that I'll be driving from my home to my office, it would take about an hour. From a tube, it is like 30 minutes. So it's worth it to not drive.
Okay, so there's some traffic in Prague.
Yeah, there's terrible traffic in Prague, just because we are a historical city. And, you know, as they projected it, and they didn't count with that much of mobility. So there are not like big cycles about around Prague. So.
Okay. So what are some of the names of the suburbs that are around Prague that are popular right now? So let's say somebody has dreamed of moving out of the US, they're dying to go somewhere, Prague is sounding kind of interesting. What are some suburbs that you could talk about?
Well, it's really tough question. It depends on your preferences. Well, for example, if you are like, if you have family and you'd like to have like a calm neighborhood and some great restaurants there, it is like where I actually live right now. But in case that I would choose something different, I would really recommend, for example, Karlín. We call it like small and.
Is that where you live now? The neighborhood you're talking about that's very family friendly?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's just the suburbs of Prague, which is it's like super great connection to city center, and it is actually great because you have nature around, like forest and lakes and so on. So it's great.
Is there a lot of hiking?
Hiking?
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't have any mountains in Prague.
Or forest. I guess you could hike through the.
And it's
forest. That's what I was going with.
Sorry for that. Not exactly forest, but I would consider it as a big parks.
Okay.
Yeah, like really big parks.
Okay. I don't know. This is why I'm asking you the questions.
Yeah, great. Well, and for example, if I could recommend something like, if I would move into Prague and I don't know how it works in here, I would really recommend Karlín, which is like really, really nice and progressive quarter and suburb, which were flooded in 2002, like 18 years ago, because of a big flood in Prague.
Why are you telling people to move somewhere where there's a flood?
It is actually solved right now.
This is terrible advice. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So now it's okay?
Yeah, but actually it is solved by like super clever engineers. So you can be like safe there. So.
You're protected. Okay. Okay.
Well, and because of that, it became like a progressive part of Prague, where many new bars and restaurants and like new buildings were built. For example, Amazon moved there. Maybe you know Deloitte, like the Big Four.
Yes.
Deloitte, yeah, perfect.
Deloitte.
Those big companies.
Yeah.
And also it is mixed with the original buildings there, so it is quite nice.
Yeah.
And also good as an investment. For example, across the river of Vltava, there is another suburb called Holešovice.
Say that one more time.
Holešovice.
One more time.
Holešovice. Try it. Šovice.
Šovicen.
Holešovice.
Košovicen.
Great pronunciation, Erin.
Thank you. Sorry. I love
Yeah,
this.
we can change our live show into Czech classes.
Right, I know. By the way, everybody, I am checking the Facebook messages. I see a lot of you waving. Thank you so much for tuning in. But if you do have a question, please let me know. I am checking that. So, perfect. Sorry. Okay, so we're crossing to Holešovice.
And right now, Holešovice are on the same level as for me. Karlín was like 5, maybe 7 years ago.
Okay.
There'll be like new buildings, new restaurants, new cafes, new bars, and so on. So Holešovice is also nice.
So what are you gonna get? If I'm moving there, I want to get a 2-bedroom. What are the prices in the 2 different neighborhoods, right? Because one seems a bit more established now, and one is, as you said, it's where it was maybe 8 years ago. So what are the price differences?
What are the price differences? For example, Karlin is like maybe 15 to 20% higher than Holešovice right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would a starter home cost someone?
Well, starter home, I would consider it as a starter apartment.
Or starter apartment. Okay, so it's mostly apartments, not like single family homes there.
Single family homes are on the Prague suburbs.
Okay.
Yeah, not in city center. Well, for example, if we are talking about apartment which is 2-bedroom, I can say approximately like 60 to 70 square meters.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. I would consider it approximately for about 8 to 10 million Czech crowns, which is in US dollars. Let me calculate it. It is like 8 divided by.
Calculators come in handy.
Yeah, calculators. It is like 350,000 US dollars. Yeah, approximately 350 to 500. It depends what kind of standard you choose and locality and which floor exactly.
Yeah. Well, and do these buildings, do most of them have like doormen, gyms, elevators, or are they more like 4-story walk-up typical European flats?
Well, mostly as you mentioned,
Okay.
like maybe like 7 floors.
Okay.
Mostly walked by. There were like additional lift made it, and also there are like, in case that there are like 3 places, they've built a new developer project there. So maybe in case that you are looking for something that provides those services, there are also possibilities for you. For example, at Vinohrady, Holešovice, also Karlin at the newer part.
Sorry, I'm just turning this up so I can hear you a bit better.
Great.
Say it again.
Say it again.
Just the end. Sorry. So they now have lifts.
Yeah. Mostly.
And then there's some of the newer development.
Yeah, exactly. They're mostly in Prague. There are like original buildings which are like from 4 to maybe like 7 floors, mostly walk by, and they are maybe made it a lift additionally.
Yeah.
And for example, if you are looking for something that provides services, as you mentioned, such as receptions and gyms and maybe some inside pools and so on, it is like possible. For example, at Vinohrady, there are some new developer project, for example, newer part of Karlin, as I mentioned, and also Holešovice, and all around Prague. So.
Okay. And then, so if you were going to get that same 2-bedroom in the other neighborhood that's up and coming, you said it's just about like 15% less. Roughly.
Well, but it can vary. It depends on building style and standards
Yeah, but just like a neighborhood standard. And so if that area is about 8 years behind, do they have like the restaurants and everything else yet?
Yeah, they do. They have some, but not that much as in Karlin. For example, there are like the newer cafes there, for example, that are like thriving now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And now let's talk about like in the city. So I love to walk everywhere. So like if someone was to actually purchase in city center, I'm sure there's great restaurants, I would have to imagine, right? And then is it only big luxury properties for sale? Are there smaller units for sale in city center? Is it a certain type? I'm assuming it's mostly apartments.
Yeah, definitely. Mostly apartments. But those buildings were built, for example, for like for people that have some money and they are like successful in their lives. So there are like bigger apartments, for example, like 3-bedrooms apartments at the city center. But there are like many investors that buy those and reconstruct them to small ones. For example, for studios, and they subletting them or letting them, or maybe they just reconstruct them to small ones and sell them. So you can, in case that you are looking for something, you can find what you wanted.
Yeah. Okay. That happens a lot here too, just with people taking the big units and making them smaller and selling them out. So it's interesting that that's happening there as well. So if I wanted to buy like a 3-bedroom, beautiful unit in one of the historic older buildings in the center of Prague, what am I looking at spending?
Well, definitely you are looking for some of our river sides. It is nice. You have view for all of the another riverside and historical buildings. For example, Smíchov is the right place, and also Rašínovo nábřeží is super nice. It's between two bridges, and nice view there. In case that you are looking for an apartment which has like 3 bedrooms, it's supposed to be around 120 square meters, and it would be starting, I think, in case that you are looking for about at least 3rd floor to have some view, I would consider like 18 million Czech crowns. Okay. So it means like $800 US.
Okay. That's not too bad. And then are there rules in the buildings? Let's say that I were to buy one of those. Are there rules of how often I could rent out, or could I buy one, rent it out for like 3 months and then come live in it for a month, rent it out for another 3 months? Does your building, does each building have regulations?
Nope, they don't. In case that you are owning it personally. For example, if you are buying, I'm not really sure what was the word in English for it, but you can buy also property, and you'll be the part of company that owns it.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah, and you are just a part of company, and you have right to live in the apartment, but the apartment is not actually yours. It is the company who is part of the company, and those can have those rules. But in case that you are owning it personally, you can definitely do what you
We have some people that are interested in these apartments, by the way. Pablo, if you want to get one, let's talk. I can introduce you to a great guy.
Feel free to contact me.
I love it. Okay, so this is actually fascinating because most of the people that I've spoken to in other areas outside of the US, there tends to be regulation about how much you can charge in rent, when you can rent it out. So that's quite fascinating that you don't have those regulations there, which I guess makes a lot of sense as to why you have so many investors there, right?
Yeah. And you know what's also important?
Tell me.
We are open to another market. So in case that you want to buy one, you have no limitation as a citizen of another country. So
awesome. So, okay. And so I want to come there and I want to buy. What is the process?
What is the process?
Well, besides having a great agent, we will have your information up for sure when this is done.
Well, for the first thing, you need to know what are you expecting from the property. So you have to have your inquiry ready.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's the first thing. For example, the second one, to have your amount of money prepared.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by prepared, you mean it already has to be in the country?
Sorry?
Sorry, when you say that you have to have the money prepared, do you mean it already has to be in the country?
It don't have to be in our country. It has to be on your bank account, or have to be prepared on bank account that provides you the mortgage.
Perfect. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and right after, I think it's quite similar to your system. First of all, you see the property, you look if it is as it's presented, and right after, you are about to sign a contract. In Czech Republic, we call it like a reservation contract. It means that you came to a broker or maybe to an owner, if it is like for sale by owner, and you came for him and you say, I have the money, I'd like to buy this property or this unit, and we'll be about to sign a contract with volume of the property of this money, and I'll be buying it in about a month. So prepare the contracts to be ready. So you are going to sign the reservation contract. You put the amount of reservation, which is approximately like 3 to 5%. It depends on condition of the agent or how you made the deal with the owner. So it is approximately like 3 to 5%. And then the contracts are prepared.
Okay.
Right after, you are going to sign it.
Do you prepare the contracts? Sorry for interrupting.
Well, we are putting it into like the legal offices. They are
Sure.
prepared.
That's what we do as well in New York City. Is we have attorney for the buyer and an attorney for the seller.
Yeah.
You have a notary, right?
We have notary. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Right after, we are going to sign the contract. We put the price, the amount of property into notary. Mm-hmm. And right after, we put those contracts into a place where all info about accommodation and properties are held. Mm-hmm. And if it is everything okay, they're going to sign your ownership after 21 days of some due to protect the previous owner. And right after, it's yours. Until 15 days, there will be an handover, and you can start.
Okay. And what is a typical percentage that buyers have to put down?
Well, as I said,
if they're foreign.
If they're foreign, if we are talking about reservation contract, right?
No, like for financing purposes, is it usually 20% of the value, 30% of the value of the home? Like for that.
That's kind of tricky, because in case that you came to Czech bank and asked them for a mortgage, mm-hmm. It is like a little bit trickier, because they are many times are not open to give money to somebody that has no income in Europe.
Okay, sure.
In case that you have some income from Europe, they are open for it, but maybe in case that you are interested, we can provide you an appointment, for example, with our like financial brokers.
Okay, yeah.
I think it will be easier to have like a mortgage in US for you, and right after invest those money in Czech Republic, if it is possible from your bank.
Okay, it does seem to be the same thing all around, right? Because I know a lot of foreign investors, when they come here to the US, it's great if they already have a relationship with the bank. Tends to be easier. So I'm not surprised that it's the same way the other way around, right? Those relationships and where your assets are held are a big deal. Okay, so talk to me about the luxury. This is obviously my favorite thing. If you know me, I love luxury real estate. So the properties that you were talking about in Prague on Riverside, is that right? Are there like any trends that you see in luxury? Like, is it luxury when it's, built before, I don't know, over 200 years ago? Is it luxury when it has an elevator? Is it luxury when it has a terrace? Is it the size of it that makes it luxury? Like what, or the price point? Like what makes luxury in Prague?
What makes luxury in Prague? It is specific. It is, what are you expecting from the property? For example, you are looking for luxury area, which is, for example, Rašínovo nábřeží. It is one of the best and my favorite, because my aunt has an apartment there, and I'm always really happy that in case that I can visit it.
Yeah.
It is great. Also, there are properties that are reconstructed, because those buildings around Riverside, they are at least 200 years old. In a city center, for example, if you are going more from the city center, there are newer ones. But in case that you are looking for those, definitely the older one. But there are many of them reconstructed in highest standard possible.
So in that area that you were talking about, that you said the neighborhood, and I completely understand that, right? So we have an area that is extremely expensive. It's funny enough, it has the name Billionaires Row. So, the name kind of goes with it. But that's where, you have Louis Vuitton downstairs, Chanel, Tiffany's around the corner. Is that what happens in that area? If it's that luxury area, is it just because of the view, it's on the river, or is it like the shopping district and the really nice Michelin restaurants?
Yeah, also have that part of Prague. It is just close where I'm now.
Oh, okay. Very excited.
street next to us. It is
Okay.
Street Pařížská. It's like street of Paris. And it is a place where are those expensive shops and boutiques are. And
Okay.
right above, there are super expensive and luxury apartments. There are not many times on the market. There are just ones of those, because actually nobody wants to sell them. And in case that, they are super, super expensive.
Okay. So when you say super, super expensive, we're talking like 2-3 million US dollars, or are we talking like 20 million?
Well, we are talking about, well, I would say like maybe 10 to $15,000 per square meter.
Oh, wow. Okay. We're talking now.
We're talking now. So definitely we are going to see you soon in Prague.
Yes. Open up, I'm coming. No, that sounds amazing. And so are those like full townhouses that are in that area?
Sorry?
Would would the majority of those properties be like full townhouses, or would those also be like 3rd, 4th floor apartments?
They are like just the floor apartments, not whole building apartments.
All right. I'm gonna want to see some of those. I'm gonna look them up after this.
Okay.
Perfect. And so are those the two most luxury neighborhoods, I guess, of the center of Prague? Or there some more areas?
Also Malá Strana, which is
Mastra.
Malá Strana.
Manastra.
Malá Strana.
I give up. Malastra.
Malá Strana.
I'm gonna come for a language session with you soon. I give up. No one's making fun of me yet on Facebook, so we're okay.
For example, Malá Strana, which is quite nice. In Prague, for example, we have like the biggest castle complex in the world. Prague Castle is like the biggest one, and
really?
right after the castle, there is Malá Strana, which is like old town of Prague, where historic buildings are, and it's also luxury area.
Oh, nice.
For example, there are like new areas. I mentioned it before. Brumovka. It is the place where the skyscrapers are built now. There are also big developer project called V Tower. It's a shape of V, so kind of strange when you are standing next to it and seeing that the building is right like falling off on you. So it's like yeah. But they made luxury apartments to sell them.
Okay.
Well, also expensive because there is view for all the Prague.
That sounds beautiful. And okay, I'm going to butcher this, I apologize.
Malá Strana.
Mastrana.
Small side, in case that we are.
All right. I can't hear very well, so clearly I'm not speaking very well either. But my face is perfect. Okay, so that neighborhood, they're doing a lot of building up there. What's going on in that neighborhood? Is it more residential, more commercial, businesses are there? Why do you think developers are developing there?
Well, it started on the beginning of millennium. They built like big offices there. Like one of the most rich person in Czech Republic built their developer project and complex where like about 8 to 10 buildings, really big buildings full of offices. For example, Microsoft is there.
Okay.
And you know, those complex means that there are many employees and those employees really need to live somewhere. So it made that area kind of interesting for investors. For example, they've built a big shopping mall also.
Okay.
And also there is super great connection to city center because it is on there's a metro station right on track to city center. Well, and it is the right place to build those projects because it is like the wider surrounding of city center. There are many free places, not many in this time, but there were. So they started building this.
Okay, great. So interesting. All right, what other neighborhood, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but what other neighborhood should people know about if they're interested in visiting and maybe even moving to Prague?
Moving to Prague. Well, you maybe know Charles Bridge. It is nice. Gothic bridge. You definitely need to visit it.
Yeah.
Also, Old Town Square. All around, it is wonderful. Like those narrow streets and those architecture. It's nice. I've been like all over the Europe and some part of Asia, and I haven't seen those before. Nowhere else.
No? Have you been to Old Town in Barcelona?
Old Town in Barcelona, yes, I've been.
So it's not similar to that though?
Well, from point of view, it maybe can, but you know, Prague is way older than Barcelona is. So, you know, they have like wider streets. For example, in Budapest and Paris also.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit different kind of cities than Prague.
Yeah.
Like really historic.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. I'm gonna have to come see that area because I know Old Town in Barcelona, because it was originally built by the Romans, is one of my favorite areas of Barcelona because of the history and everything, and I'm fascinated by the architecture. And it seems like the Old Town there is even older and probably has more beautiful history that I would love to learn.
It's super close to Prague from Barcelona, like 2 hours flight.
There we go.
There you go.
So if I don't get let in soon, I'm going to turn on the History Channel some more. But if I do, I'm going to have to come find a tour guide and a book and read up on that history of that area. That's great, though.
And also Czech Republic is not that big country. For example, in case that you want to go for a car with car to borders, it takes about, for example, if you go north, you can go to Krkonoše, which is like super nice mountains, not that high, but I like it there. It's about 2 hours of ride, and you can have your hike there, visit our highest mountain, which is Sněžka. It has 1,600 meters above sea.
Yeah.
It is not that high. You can definitely go by feet there.
It was like my mountains in Wisconsin where I grew up. You could walk to the top very easily. That's where you can go hiking.
Yeah. And so on, super nice nature around, nice people also.
Perfect. So it seems like Prague is a great place to go for people that want a city feeling. You could easily live in the suburbs, have more space, and get to the city pretty quickly. Sounds like it's maybe about a half-hour commute if you take public transportation from the suburbs. Ish, 45?
30 to 60 minutes.
Okay, 30 to 60 minutes. Part public, part driving. And there's so many fascinating neighborhoods to be in, and you're close to the mountains if you want that lifestyle. Mountains, hiking, smaller mountains. Yeah, so it seems like a fabulous place to go and visit. And of course, the bridge. I have heard quite a bit about the bridge. I've not been, obviously, but it seems
and
gorgeous.
there are also many sites. I mentioned just one of them because if I'd like to mention all of those, we would have those like live show for about an hour.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Perfect. Well, listen, anything else that people should know about Prague before I let you have your night back?
Well, I think we mentioned all important information, but definitely came and visited by our properties here.
Yes, no, absolutely. Well, listen.